PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome back Ken Sher. Ken is an executive coach and career coach with 30 years of experience at Johnson & Johnson and Bristol Myers Squibb. He's also served as vice president coaching services at Velocity Advisory Group, coaching clients in positions ranging from first-line manager to CEO. He has had his own executive coaching and career coaching service, Sher Coaching, since 2015. Ken has experienced the highs and lows many of us have during our careers. He was laid off at 52 years old, struggling to recover from that blow, and then landed 3 new jobs while still in his 50s. He now shares his career learning through his trust success model, which, when applied to professional relationships, networking, and job searches, leads to transformational results. Today, Ken is going to share how you can use LinkedIn most effectively to manage your career or to land your next great opportunity. PSG of Mercer County is very pleased to welcome a coach we can all trust, Ken Sher.
Thank you, David. I do appreciate that. And, I always like giving this LinkedIn presentation because it's such a practical, this practical information that you could use right away. And I know every time I go to a LinkedIn presentation, I always learn something. So I'm confident you will feel the same way. Because LinkedIn is really arguably the most important tool you have to help you land your next job or to manage your career. And it's because, thinking back to pre-LinkedIn days, the only way you got to meet people was by being in person with them, shaking their hands or getting somebody to introduce you to them. But you had to have that in-person touch. There was no other way to do it. But LinkedIn provides so many more opportunities. If you think about it, if you have 500 connections, and most of us, I think, do have at least 500 connections, and each of those connections has 500 connections, that you essentially have access to 250,000 people. Now, I understand we don't all know everybody in our network on LinkedIn. I get that, but at the very least, it's a at least semi-warm lead for you to reach out to that person or reach out to someone who knows that person to make the introduction to you. So I really would implore you to make sure that LinkedIn is not just a box you check or just not something that's become so routine that you're not getting anything out of it, because there is so much in here that you can get. Some additional facts, it was founded in 20 years ago. And this information, by the way, is from June of 2020. So I'm sure it's even probably closer to 600 million users. And the US has about a third of those users. And pretty much every company is on LinkedIn. It says 90% plus recruiters. If you're a recruiter and not on LinkedIn, I'd be really surprised by that. I'm sure they're all using it to some extent. And then what you have in your profile is important. And we're going to go through the entire profile. I'm going to go through some static PowerPoint slides, try to buzz through them a little quickly, and then I'm going to get to a live demonstration so that I can show you exactly how you can use LinkedIn. But in your LinkedIn profile, it needs to be a full profile. You want to fill as much as you can. And don't overlook things like the skills area and endorsement area. Having the 50 skills that you can fill in there is important. And then making sure you have your top 3 there and where you get endorsed will help reinforce the message you're trying to send to the reader. And then also, whether it's your profile or your resume, be careful about using fluff words, creative, motivated, passionate. Anybody can say those things. You've got to make sure that you're backing these things with facts and with results so that people know how you can impact them and in their business. And we're going to go through all these things today. I'm going to introduce my trust success model or reintroduce it to some of you. And then there's going to be some breaks within there. If you have questions, we could definitely answer questions there. We could wait for the break, or you could just jump in if you'd like to. We're going to talk about how to strengthen your profile, how to market yourself, and build your network. And obviously, there are job opportunities to find on LinkedIn. But the first thing you have to do with a successful job search in general is you need to develop your message. Your message needs to be consistent, whether it's in your LinkedIn profile, your resume, your networking conversations, or interviewing. And that message needs to be something that's clear, that's compelling, that's interesting, and that's memorable. One thing that I've been kind of I don't know, I've had a change of heart about is the elevator speech. If you've all been on calls, I'm sure, or been in networking meetings where you go around the room, you go around the Zoom screen, and everybody gives their 30-second to a minute elevator speech. And I would ask you, if you really think about it, how many of those do you really remember? How many of those stick out to you as something like, boy, if I ever come across something like that, I'll know who to refer to or how I can help that person? I have to say, I think it's pretty rare. I recently read a book and actually saw the author speak. The book was called The Art of Hello. The author's name is Paula Calise, Calise. And I love her approach to introducing herself. She believes that you need to introduce yourself in 10 words or less in an interesting, compelling, and memorable way. The way she does it is she'll say to people, I'm Paula Calise, I'm an executive recruiter, and I fill hard to fill positions. That's it. That's her introduction. Now, she certainly has other information that she calls pillars behind it to fill in the blanks, but everybody knows Paula Calise fills hard to fill positions. She's introduced that way when she speaks. She introduces herself when she's in networking situations. She even got a call from somebody from Europe who, when she answered the phone and said it was Paula, he said, oh, I hear you fill hard to fill positions. So if you could come up with that branding statement of yours, that message that everybody will remember and then want to know more about, or that it leads to a further conversation where you deliver those pillars, that's the message you need to have through all your marketing materials. I'll tell you very quickly here of my background. As David mentioned, I spent 25 years at Johnson & Johnson, and then unfortunately I got laid off at 52 years old, had 2 kids in college, 1 in high school, and frankly, it was a devastating time for me. And I always feel it important to share this with the audience because some of you may be going through it. I was 52 years old. I thought I was a pretty progressive guy. I'm not, the man of the house and I've got to do this. But I will tell you, it hurt me. It hit my psyche. It hit my sense of identity. And it knocked me down for a while. And I went and I sought additional help to help me get out of that funk. And I saw a therapist. I went on antidepressants. And it helped pull myself out of it. As I like to say, with good therapy and good pharmaceuticals, you can get through anything these days. But I picked myself up, dusted myself off. I got 3 new jobs while I was still in my 50s. The last one was at Bristol Myers Squibb, where I decided I was done with corporate America. And I needed to figure out what was I going to do next. And really, my professional formative years were at Johnson & Johnson. And I really still, even though I don't like the way my career ended there, I have a great respect for J&J for a number of reasons. But one of the things that I really respect from them, and what I found during some introspection of myself, is that J&J's success is built on trust. It's built on the trust they develop with their constituents. And they actually have this 1-page document. It's called the J&J Credo. It's 4 paragraphs. And the first paragraph is about the responsibility to healthcare workers and the patients they serve. The second paragraph is about responsibility to employees, providing them with a safe work environment and fair wage. The third paragraph is about the responsibility to the communities they're in. In other words, making sure they're good stewards of the environment. And the final paragraph is about the responsibility to shareholders. And what I really always find interesting about that document is when it was written by General Robert Wood Johnson, founder of J&J, he was the only shareholder at the time. So he put himself last, but knew if he took care of the other constituents, he would be fine. And he's right. Over the J&J, every single year for 50 years straight, I believe, has delivered quarterly dividends to their shareholders. But it's all based on trust. A lot of you may remember the Tylenol scare back in the late 70s or early 80s, where somebody tampered with Tylenol, put poison in there, and people in Chicago died from taking Tylenol. Nobody knew what happened or how it happened. So J&J looked at the credo and said, what do we do? And our first responsibility is to our healthcare workers and the patients they serve. So J&J pulled all the product from the shelves all around the world at the cost of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. But what they did was they developed, by the way, the first tamper-resistant bottle, and then they put Tylenol back on the shelves, and it quickly became the #1 over-the-counter pain reliever again. Why is that? Because they never lost the trust that they had developed with their stakeholders, with their healthcare workers and their patients. And so I believe that trust is so important. That's how I've developed my personal brand. My personal brand is about trust. I believe it does help me stand out from the crowd. I believe I'm able to communicate that in the way I work with people and the way I'm able to help people. It's my reputation, it's my credibility, and I think trust is truly the foundation of all great and productive relationships, which I think is the key to success. And I think that's one thing as a job seeker, you need to develop that trust with your people you're communicating with through your LinkedIn profile, through your resume, in the things you're taking, you're marketing yourself. You need to let them know they can trust in what you say and what you say you're going to do, and that you can deliver in what you can do. And you could deliver that message through LinkedIn in a very clear way. So I believe so strongly in trust, I did develop the trust success model, and you can see what it stands for here. It's an acronym: transparency, results, understanding, simplify, and team. I'm going to go actually very quickly through this so we could get to LinkedIn. But the transparency part of the trust success model is about taking some time to be introspective, to be transparent with yourself, take an inventory. Think back on all the things you've done in your career, your great successes, the great teams you've been on, the skills that you're good at, the skills you've developed, the environment that you like to work in. What are the things that would make for the perfect job for you for your next opportunity? And put those down on paper, type them into your computer. And there are a number of reasons to do that, by the way. You want to do that, A, so you start preparing for interviews and for your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Get all that information together. But I also mentioned how hard it was on me in particular, but I know a lot of you, in losing your job. So when you put that stuff down, it's a great confidence builder. It reminds you of all the great things you have done in your past and all the great things you have to deliver to your next employer. So you want to do that because there are going to be times you're feeling down, and this is a great way to again reinforce the positive feelings you need to have in a job search. You also want to take inventory around LinkedIn. Are you getting the most out of this amazing tool? Is your profile complete? Have you filled in as many sections of LinkedIn as you can? And I'm going to talk at the end about how you might be able to test that to see how well you've put together your profile so that you do show up in more searches. What page? You want to get to that first page of LinkedIn. And if you're not on the first page when you do a practice search, do a search on your job title or on different keywords that you might have in your profile and see, who's showing up on the first page. What are these people doing that you might be able to emulate, that you may be able to model your profile against so that you could show up on the first page of that search. So the R in the trust success model is about results. And results need to be a key part of your communication in all aspects of your marketing. Your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your interview skills. You need to be driving results. And results are, a lot of times I think what I know I see in resumes that come to me are a list of responsibilities, a list of things that I don't know how well you did them, and I don't even know if you did them at all. Leading a team of 12 people, responsible for quarterly closeouts of finance, whatever it might be. I don't know how well you did them. So you need to have accomplishment statements in there. Those are the bullet points on your resume. Those are the bullet points that you might have under your work experience within LinkedIn. And they need to be results. They need to have words in it like resulting in, leading to, with the outcome of, because your next hiring manager wants to know what have you delivered in the past so that they could understand what you could deliver for them if they choose you for that role. So look at your resume, look at the work experience on your LinkedIn profile. Do you truly see results, or are you just seeing a list of responsibilities that you had within that job? You need to be talking results in all your marketing materials, LinkedIn included. The U in the trust success model is about understanding, and there really are two things that you need to understand. First is the job market. It's changed so much over the past 3 years. It continues to change. There's always a lot of competition, but today 80% of jobs are still remote or at least hybrid. So keeping that in mind, what are the messages you're delivering to show your next hiring manager, your next employer, that you're able to manage that? that you're able to balance, your life so that when you're working at home, you're getting things done. They don't have to worry about you. Are they working? Are they finishing the things that I need them to finish? You also want to understand that the hiring managers have gone through the same amount of stress that everybody else has. And to be empathetic and to be able to demonstrate empathy throughout the interview process, throughout your profile, show how you are able to connect with people. That's something that's a valued skill in today's marketplace. And you also need to know that some industries are hot and some aren't. So you have to set the right expectations for yourself about when you're going to land your next opportunity. The other part of the understanding within the trust success model is social media. And this is where we're going to spend a lot of our time. And I'm going to do that through a couple slides, but also through a live demonstration. The final part not the final part, the S of the trust success model is about simplify. And it's around interviewing mostly because interviewing is stressful. And the antidote for stress is confidence. And the only way you're going to have confidence before you go into an interview is by preparing properly, doing your research, understanding the marketplace, understanding yourself, the competition, the interviewer if you can, and LinkedIn will help you with that. It's about having, I believe, a process so that you can tell good, compelling, memorable stories in your interview. And then it's about practice and practicing out loud, not just in your head, your interview answers, so that when you go in there, you could deliver it in a very conversational way. And the final part of the trust success model is about teams. You really need to have two teams. One team is your family, your friends, your loved ones, those people that'll pick you up when you're feeling down and will be there to celebrate with you when you have those good successes. And then the other team, another equally as important team, is your network. You need to build a good, strong network that you are engaged in, that you can help other people out and that they can help you out, and things will show up for you that you never expected because you have a good active network. And again, LinkedIn is a key to you being able to do that. So that's a very high level overview of the trust success model. I will stop here. David, are there any questions or comments that anyone would like to make?
Anyone in the room, of course, you can raise your hand and have a question. And there's one. Yeah, so yeah, please come up to the microphone. Premium what? Or what about the value of using LinkedIn Premium? Okay, so that's one question here. If you have an opinion about the value of LinkedIn Premium.
Okay. Well, I would say, my feeling on LinkedIn Premium is that if you're not using regular LinkedIn and getting the most out of that, then why pay for something that you're not going to get the most out of that? I think LinkedIn Premium, they have free trials. If you're in a job search, I would try it during the free trial. And if it works for you and gives you the information that you need to make you feel more confident and feel more prepared and more effective in your interviews, then go for it. I don't think it's for everybody. And again, if you're not using LinkedIn regularly and getting as much out of it as you can, and I'll go through some ways to do that, then I would say don't spend the money. I think it's $30 or $35 a month, which is, $300+ a year. I wouldn't necessarily go for that. I saw also in the chat someone mentioned that somebody said they had too many results in their resume. Well, I guess it all depends how many. I do think that sometimes if I give my wife something sometimes to read, to proofread and tell me what she thinks, she looks at it. If it's a dense set of words, if it's a lot, she'll just say too many words, can't read it. And I think a lot of us are like that, especially in today, we have such small attention spans. So it could be that you had so much in there, it's almost like can't see the forest for the trees. Your resume, sometimes I think people feel like, or the work experience, let's talk work experience because that covers LinkedIn as well. Sometimes I think people think if I put everything in there, I'm going to get a call and someone's going to say, hey, I just read your LinkedIn profile, your work experience, or your resume. I want to offer you a job. Never happens, will never happen. You want to put enough information in there that's intriguing, that's compelling, that causes someone to say, I need more from this person. I need to talk to them, or I'm going to keep reading their profile or resume. So it could be a matter of just too much of a good thing, which, too much of a good thing is not good either, right? So I hope that helps a little bit. Anything else, David?
Just one comment following up on your on the first question about LinkedIn Premium. Make sure you understand what the features are in LinkedIn Premium to see if it's of value to you. So among them are you can send a LinkedIn InMail, their email system, to basically anybody in LinkedIn. Well, you can't do that for free. You can only send InMails to your first degree connections. So if you're looking to connect with second or third degree people regularly, that'll be helpful. What you can also see are people that looked at your profile in LinkedIn Free. You can see that for like a couple of days. But here, I think with Premium, you can see it for the past couple of months. So you can check regularly, see who's looked at your profile. If they're not first degree connections, you also have the ability to contact them to check in with them. So as per Ken's observation, if you're going to use it, those features, it may be worthwhile. Try it for free for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
just click the button on top, the microphone button, so it's green. And David has a question, one of our Davids. Mhm. So that's from Jerry made a comment. Veterans can get LinkedIn Premium for free. So I didn't know that either. I don't know, Ken, if you do, or maybe Jerry quickly unmute and let us know.
That's great. I would, if it was
Well,
free, I would definitely dive into it.
at least I did for a year.
Okay, great. Well, and I think the bottom line is I think David and I both said too. If you're going to use, well, if it's free, that changes the equation a little bit. But if you're thinking about should I pay for it or not, it's like a gym membership, right? It's a great idea. Maybe I'm going to join a gym, but oftentimes many of us don't ever use it. So why spend the money if you're not going to use it? My point about LinkedIn is the same thing. David pointed out some great features of LinkedIn Premium. If that's of value to you, go for it. If you're not sure, or even if you are sure, just try the free month and see what you get out of it.
Hey, Ken, there's another question that came up. Um, Gary wants to know, do you advocate posting your resume on your LinkedIn profile?
No, I mean, I think you have it in there in your work experience. It could be, it should be the same information. It doesn't have to look exactly the same word for word, but you should have the same information in there. But there's no need to post your resume on LinkedIn. Alan, do you have a different thought than that, by the way? I mean, I don't think there's ever any completely right or wrong answer to that, but I know you're an excellent coach yourself. Any thought?
Well, thank you. Yeah, what I would say is I would definitely not do it because one of the things that I would recommend to people is to customize your resume for each job that you apply to. So if you post, which resume do you post on LinkedIn? And so if you're doing multiple different resumes for different jobs, then that kind of contradicts the idea of customizing the resume.
That's a great additional thought on that, Alan. Thank you.
Welcome.
Told you were a great coach. Okay. All right, David, moving on.
Let's move on.
Okay. Easier said than done. Here we go. So, LinkedIn is not a spectator sport. You really need to be engaged in LinkedIn. Now, I also believe in being practical. Um, in the perfect world, you'd be on LinkedIn every day and doing something on it, commenting on a post, reposting something, posting your own stuff, being engaged that way. But I think if you're not doing anything right now on LinkedIn, to say I'm going to go on every day and do that is not realistic. Start off in a way that works for you. Start off with every 3 days a week, I'm going into LinkedIn for 30 minutes. I'm going to look on my homepage and my feed. I'm going to look at what's being posted. I'm going to comment on other people's stuff. And by commenting, I don't just mean great posts. I mean, you want to think, I've heard that should have a minimum of 5 words to it, but something that shows that you know what you're talking about, that you're engaged, that you're cutting edge, so to speak, or at least up to speed on what's going on in the marketplace or in the world. The more you do that, the more you get your name out there, the more likely it is that recruiters are going to come to you and find you. Because over time, they're going to say, who's this guy, Alan Kirshner? He's always posting this great stuff. Let me check out his profile. And I think it's really important that you make a point of pushing yourself a little out of your comfort zone if you're not comfortable posting. I will tell you, the first time I posted on LinkedIn was scary for me. It took me weeks to get the courage to post it because I wasn't sure what would happen. And nothing bad happened. I got some good responses. I got some some people, a lot of people liking it. And then over time, it just gets easier and easier. Like everything, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. So you need to have a great profile, but you also need to push out information that's going to pull in hiring managers and recruiters to you. So make sure that you don't just sit back, think I have a great profile and things are going to happen. That's a good start, but you need to be engaged on LinkedIn. Everything counts on LinkedIn. Every section, the more you could fill in, the better off you'll be. Your profile picture, some people might think of it as a throwaway, but it often is the first impression that people are going to have of you. So you want to make sure it's a good, professional, friendly looking picture. The serial killer look is out. We want a nice picture. So here's some examples of what not to do. This person, the picture's a little bit blurry, a little bleached. Clearly she's at some social event. To me, it says laziness. She didn't didn't take the time to get a good picture of herself. This person, good try, but he's kind of dark. It's hard to see his face and his features, a little back. Again, it just kind of adds a little sense of mystery or a little sense of, I don't know if this guy's hiding something or not. This guy, I think it's pretty clear what the issue is here. And then some of us of a certain age are concerned about, how we look. Oh, there's ageism out there, age discrimination, which we know there is, but it's not everywhere. People in their 40s, 50s, and 60s are being hired. You could try to hide it by putting up a picture like this on there. But the reality is, when I walk in for that interview or they meet me for the first time, I am who I am. So don't try to be someone you're not. Don't have a picture from, how long ago is that? 40 years ago. Have a current picture of you smiling, looking at the camera from the chest up in a friendly way, sending the message that here is someone who's professional, who I could see working with. You want to send that positive vibe there. All these other things we're going to walk through live on LinkedIn. But your headline, your about section, these are things that are going to make a big difference in whether you get found on LinkedIn or not by recruiters and hiring managers.
There's a question here, Ken.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, it's actually a question in chat.
Okay.
How many profile views per week should we shoot for during the job search?
How many profile views? That's interesting. I never really put a goal on that for me. I don't know if there's any number. I guess I think what I would suggest to you on that is that you see where you are today over the next couple of days or whatever, see what kind of profile views you have. Then if you're increasing your activity on LinkedIn, see where you get it to. The more, the better, right? So one other way, by the way, you might be able to increase that is by looking at the different groups. And if you're posting in different groups that are specific to your profession, your industry, what you do, that might increase views for you also because it's people in your world, so to speak. But I don't know if there's a target number or not. Anybody have any thoughts on that? I never really considered that. No? Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's any real
There's
number.
the one comment here. I'm sorry, please use the microphone. Yeah, so we all hear it. And it's on now. So he was curious, do you know how many you've gotten? Or anyone tracking that? Either those of you online, maybe.
If you...
7 to 10, okay.
Yeah.
I think similar to what Ken was saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, often I'll get notifications that, somebody has viewed my profile. See if I can find one here. And then it'll show you how many other people have viewed your profile as well. So that's a way to find that. But I think, I'm not sure how much you could control that, so I'm not sure what from a goal point of view, how great that would be. But all I can tell you is this: if you keep track of it and you increase your activity on LinkedIn, you will see your profile views go up. There's no question about that. So let's walk through the profile. David, you could all see my LinkedIn page?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, we do.
Great, thank you. So the first thing you notice is I have a background picture there, me at a clipboard, at a flip chart, looking very learned. I'm sure you would all agree. And that's what I want to be, right? I want people to look at me as an authority. I want people to see me as a speaker, and I want people to see me as an educator or coach. So I put this picture behind me. I've had other things behind. I've had word clouds, which the word clouds are those pictures of all different words of different sizes. And I've had that where the words that were the larger words were things like career coach, executive coach, things like that. I strongly recommend you do something with this background. It could be a picture of a skyline. It could be something, related to your field. It could be your company if you're currently working, but something to make it more interesting than just the bland background that LinkedIn gives you. And it's easy to change everywhere. Any edit you want to do there's a pencil nearby for you to do it. The other thing is too, so my headshot, I went for a little bit more of a casual look, but again, it's from the chest up. I'm smiling as much as I can open my eyes. I open them on a sunny day, and that's where I have. Now, the other thing I would suggest in LinkedIn, this is something I think a lot of, it may, you could argue it's a big deal or not a big deal, but I would suggest that you go to your settings and privacy. And I did that by clicking on the thumbnail picture of me in the top right. And now I'm clicking on settings and privacy. And I think a lot of people don't know a bunch of stuff about LinkedIn and even how their information is being presented or, shown to the world. So you could go through these and it's really pretty, they're all very self-explanatory. Showing profile photos. Who do you want to see your profile? Who do you want to see it? I would suggest you want all LinkedIn members to, but you want to make sure that that is in fact what you're showing to the world. Another thing that I think is, this is the one I think is arguable whether you want to do it or not, but this people also viewed. I think you notice that in mine, if you look at most profiles, or at least to start profiles, they're going to show you, and let me get back to my profile to show you. They're going to say along this side here, along this side here, it's going to say not people you may know, people also viewed. And I like to change that. So if you saw in the settings and privacy with that drop down window, you could change it to people you may know. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want to give people a competition. If I'm looking for a job, so here it is, people also viewed, you could turn it off right there. That's under general preferences. If you're looking for me as a potential employee for you, why would I want to give you other people that are doing similar things to me so you could look at them as well? So I turn that off. I don't want people to find, frankly, I mean, there are plenty of other great coaches out there. Alan Kirshner's one. I think Alex Freund is on the call, and he's an awesome coach as well. But I don't necessarily want to make it so easy for people to find other people for me, right? I would gladly recommend them, but I would suggest if you're looking for a new job, you might want to change that. The second thing then coming over here as we go back, this is what you would call your headline. The headline is very important and valuable real estate in your LinkedIn profile. So you want to make sure that, first of all, people know what you do and that it's very clear, understandable, nothing too fancy or technical. And I like kind of back to that Paula Kali's Art of Hello, right? I help improve people's professional lives. I help job seekers land their next job. And I'm a career coach, executive coach. I want people to know what I do so when they come here, there's no question about it. And my key words of career coach, executive coach, keynote speaker, those are important as well because, and by the way, job seeker is important because you want to think about how would I be found? If someone were to put the terms that I have in my headline in this search bar on LinkedIn, would they find me? So I assume if someone's looking for a career coach, they're going to put career coach in that search bar. If they're looking for executive coach, they'll do the same. And I want to come up on that first page. And that's why I want to make sure that these keywords are throughout my profile, starting with my headline. So if you're a project manager, make sure you have project manager in your headline and other words that you want to attract recruiters for. Think about put your head in the recruiter's head for a while, right? If I were a recruiter looking to find someone like me or to fill a job I might be interested in, what are the words I would put in that LinkedIn search bar? And if you're not sure, put them in the search bar. Do a search, filter on people and see, or filter on jobs, filter on jobs and see, are these the kind of jobs I would want to be contacted for? And if they are, then you have the right keywords in your headline and throughout your profile. But if you put in a keyword and it comes up with jobs that have nothing to do with what you're interested in, then those aren't the right words for you. The other thing people often do in their headline, because I said it's very valuable real estate, is they waste space by putting their company name in here. And you don't need to put your company name in your headline because it's already up here, right here. So don't waste the space on that. The next really important area of the profile is your contact page. Now you want to make sure you can make it as easy as possible for people to reach out to you. Now, I had a little space out moment earlier where I couldn't find the link for this call, and I freaked out a little bit. I got to be honest with you. But what I did was I went to David's profile, and his phone number was there, so I was able to call him, and he helped me out, and here I am presenting to you guys. Now, I do suggest you be careful. Some of you may or may not want to put your phone number down. Think about it. We're still talking about social media, LinkedIn social media, so only put down as much information as you're comfortable with. Unfortunately, for women out there, there are men that are creeps on LinkedIn that think this is a dating site or think they can, that because they say something obnoxious to you, you're going to want to, date them or something. And that's not the case. But so you got to be careful about that. I also have to say, even as a 62-year-old man, lately I've been getting some questionable requests from women on LinkedIn as well. And it's just totally inappropriate. So think about what you put here in terms of contact information. The other thing is, too, you'll notice that my LinkedIn address is here and it's very clean. There are no numbers or anything after it. Normally, when you get your first LinkedIn URL, it's going to have a bunch of numbers after it. And you want to clean that up for a number of reasons. And I'll show you how to do that. First of all, you go to the Edit Public Profile and URL in the top right of your profile page. You click on that and you stay in that part of the screen and you click on the pencil and you might see after your name a bunch of numbers. All you have to do is delete those numbers, click Save, you'll get a success, or if there's somebody else who already has your name, if you have a more common name, you might have to put an underscore or a number after it or whatever. But you do want to clean that up a little bit because you're going to want to put that on your resume so it looks nicer there. You're also want to make it easier for people to find you on LinkedIn or to find you in general. So you do want to clean up that. And also, if you're a mid to late career person, it shows, if you don't have those numbers there, if you do have those numbers there, it could send a message that you're not necessarily computer savvy, you're not up to speed, you don't know how to do it. And that's not a message you want to send, especially if you're a mid to late career person. The other thing about your contact information, you'll see here, I have my website here. I have my calendar. If you want to set up time to talk to me, you could come right here. My phone number, my address, all the other information about me here. Now you have opportunity to put in, so you see this is my website, shercoaching.com. This calendar link is not my website, but I'm able to put it under the website page and have it be an active link. And I used to have, I was giving giveaways through a third party, a free guide, which I'll offer to you at the end of this call. But it was through a third party, and I had a link to that as well. But my point is, put as much information as you're comfortable with so that people can get to you easily. You don't want to make them work too hard because there are too many other candidates out there that, geez, if I have to work too hard for this person, forget it. Let me go find somebody else. One other thing too, David had mentioned that one of the benefits of LinkedIn Premium is you could send in-mails to people, and that is absolutely true. But one other tip for you, if you try to connect with someone or send an in-mail message and you don't have premium, you'll get a message saying, sign up for premium at X number of dollars, and then you could send X number of in-mails. Well, sometimes you'll come to somebody's profile and there will not be a connect button here, even though you're not connected to them. But if you click this more button, oftentimes, more often than not, you'll see a connect button. So you could connect to them there and not have to do the InMail, not have to do LinkedIn Premium to be able to use InMail, but to be able to reach out to these people. So if you don't see a connect button, check out the more button to see if you can connect with them. And then I'm going to take a break after this one section here for any other questions, but I do believe it's worth discussing the show recruiters you're open to work, because oftentimes people do wonder, do I want to show that or don't I want to show that? Now, if you click on that button, you'll see you can tell what kind of work you're open to, your locations, if you're looking immediately, full-time, etc. But here's the part I want to point out to you. Choose who sees you're open. If you go to this, you'll see you have two options. You could show all LinkedIn message members, which gives you that green collar underneath your picture that says open to work, or you could show recruiters only. And there are two schools of thought on this. Some people say, do they show all LinkedIn members that you're open? Because you never know who can help you. There's certainly no shame to being out of work and looking for a new job. And let as many people know as you can. There are other people, well, first of all, if you're working currently and you don't want your current employer to know, you certainly wouldn't hit that one. You would use the show recruiters only button. There are other people, though, who say about the open to work collar that, it shows a little bit signs of desperation. It takes away from your picture a little bit, takes the focus away, and they don't suggest you do it. I personally fall into that school. I don't think it's necessary. I think people are going to find you if they want to find you. You don't have to tell them you're open to work, because even if you're working and they want to talk to you, they're going to reach out to you. So I suggest typically go to the recruiters only. All you would do is click off here, show recruiters only that you're open to work, and that will show up in your profile. But it's up to you. I don't think it's an end all be all that you're going to impact anything, but I do personally recommend that you do not use it. Okay, so I'm going to discard that because I'm not open to work. And then actually, I will say one last thing is too, this 500 connections, 500 plus, in order to elevate yourself in the LinkedIn search algorithm, you really do need to have a minimum of 500 connections. So I would strongly suggest you do that. If I have time, I'm going to show you a great search to be able to do that. The places you would look at former colleagues to connect with them. Look at alumni from your college to connect with them. Look with friends and family to connect. You'd be amazed at how quickly you can increase the number of connections you have. So I finished the top section here of LinkedIn. I want to just stop, take a breath, see, are there any questions or comments regarding that?
Yeah, so we have one here. Yeah, go ahead up to the mic, please. And there's also one online we'll get to in a moment.
Okay.
I just have a suggestion for people who are job searching. When I was laid off a couple years ago, I created a Google voice number, which goes directly to my cell phone. You could actually put a voicemail message, which I forgot to do, the voice from but having a Google voicemail, putting it on your Indeed, ZipRecruiter profiles is a great way to vet who's calling you for a job. You know that it's a staffing agency. But then I use my regular direct number on my resume when I'm dealing with corporations. Network with people. But it's just my suggestion. Use the Google number.
Yeah, Google Voice, if you're interested, the web address is voice.google.com, voice.google.com. With your regular Gmail account or any Google account like that, you can get a free Google Voice. It's completely free. You don't get a cell phone, but you do get a phone number that you port. And so, Rich, I do the same thing. My Google Voice number goes both to my cell phone and my office phone at the same time. Yep, so you report it to one morning. Good idea.
Very
There
good.
is a question. I'm sorry?
Okay, David. Yeah, I didn't.
Yep.
Those of us on Zoom, we didn't hear what was said. I assume the question was, can we, if we want to put a phone number down, what other options or whatever, and Google Voice was the one that came up. Is that what that was?
Oh, I'm sorry. So you did not hear Rich's comment.
No.
Okay. So Rich was making an observational comment that to protect your personal phone numbers, whether it's cell or home, you get a new phone number for Google Voice. It's a free phone number service. And that way, when you get a phone call on your cell phone from Google Voice, then it's likely job related. And otherwise, if it's just your regular cell phone number, then it's probably someone personal. So you can segregate the calls coming in for job search.
Great. Thank you.
Not sure why that didn't work, but okay, sorry.
Yeah, David, I'm
There
not
is
hearing
also,
it either. So I guess it's all of Zoom or GoToMeeting that's not getting it, the remote people.
okay, thank you. I will make sure that we do repeat those questions. Not sure why. So I'll have to check, maybe reset the microphone. There is a question sorry? There is a question in chat. The question is, can write a sentence about open to work in your about section.
Again, you certainly can, but I'm not sure what value that would have. You also have limited words in your about section, so that's to me, it's kind of wasted words because, like I said, recruiters aren't just looking for people who are quote unquote open to work. They're looking for the best people, and if you are able to communicate through your profile the value you have to bring, whether you're literally open to work or not, I'm going to reach out to you and see if you are interested. So you can have it in there. I just don't know what the value of it is.
And there's
And
another question. Can you download a CVS file of your contacts to manage contact interaction in a spreadsheet?
yeah, you definitely can do that. Not 100% sure off the top of my head how to do it. Just looking there. It certainly can be done. I can get back to you on that. I'm sure it can be Googled very easily, but yeah, there's definitely ways. I know I've done it before. You can download it to a CSV or to an Excel spreadsheet. Absolutely.
One
And
thing to
some
be
people
aware
do
of
that,
with
by the
that
way,
is,
and also just it kind of reminds me to copy and save all your content as much as you can, your about section, your contacts, copy and save them elsewhere just in case something happens to your LinkedIn profile. And it could be anything from LinkedIn somehow loses it to maybe you do something inadvertently. I have a very good friend who she was kicked off LinkedIn for a while, and it wasn't that she did anything bad, but just to be able to get back to LinkedIn and convince them that she should be back on, it took her weeks, and it was very stressful and damaging to her. And then she didn't have her information. She had to restart by building a whole new profile. So, there's definitely reasons to save your information.
one thing to note is when you download your contacts from LinkedIn, they no longer give you the email address. And it's funny, you'll see a column for email address because they used to give it to you, so the file format's the same. And I guess they're trying to ensure that you maintain connections as much as possible in relationships within the product. I'm not sure if Premium has changed that, but the free program no longer does. I saw a moment ago, Charlie R., you had raised your digital hand. Do you have a comment or question?
Yes, it was just that the reason for managing them offline is because all of us have flaky memories as to how long ago it was that we contacted somebody.
Yeah.
And you can set up put yourself on a schedule if you would.
Thank you. And I also saw John Sampson. It looked like you were trying to ask a question. Do you have a question or comment to make?
I do. A comment Ken, regarding the issue of open to work. All of you, when you have an opportunity, should really attend Melanie Woods when she talks about, I'll say, the other side of the table, the contingency recruiter side of the table. And she's done a lot of research about that business. The first thing I would say is, one, they're pretty busy. So when they go looking for folks, it's not random. It's who wants to get a job, and open to work suggests I'm really interested. Two is she has some kind of research to back that up. Again, Melanie Woods, the presentations I've always heard from her deal with the ATS system associated with LinkedIn, and she shows you exactly what their search criteria is like. One additional subject on that regard, in that regard, is the business of geography, because of course, they're looking for, are you local here? So, for instance, the New York metropolitan area does not include Wayne, New Jersey, as parochial as that information may be. Thank you.
And thanks, John. Yeah, I definitely think there are certainly differing opinions on things, and I understand you're saying that there's research there to back that. I and also the ATS obviously is very important as well, and I have different opinions on the ATS as well. But I do think gathering as much information as you can, and then if you, by the way, too, again, as I said, if you're working, you're not going to have an open to work collar on your picture if you don't want your current employer to see that. But again, I do think people more often than not are contacted by recruiters when they're working for an opportunity, even if it's not clear that they're looking for a new job. But again, I think there are multiple opinions on that.
And in case folks didn't know, the way LinkedIn identifies recruiters, if you're wondering how it knows only you're seeing open to work to recruiters, there's a separate tool that recruiters have called LinkedIn Recruiter. They don't use the same LinkedIn that we do. They pay a large subscription for it. So, but it could also be the HR people in your company that are using that as well. So just be aware. So it's who has that subscription.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Any other questions here, comments? Online, folks? All right, Ken, let's move on. I know there'll be a little bit more time for questions later as well. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So someone was asking a little bit about profile views earlier and analytics, and if you are active and you'll see that you have these profile views, and I do check them out to see, I would frankly like to see more than just 395, although I think that's okay. And I do track to see if they're up or down, and continually trying to increase them based on what I post. That's the only way my profile views are going to increase. It's the only way your profile views will increase, is if you're active and people see you out there. And also, again, the more active you are, the higher up in the search algorithm you'll be. So if you want to increase profile views, you've got to increase your activity on LinkedIn. And then you can see search appearances, impressions, and such. There are resources available. Creator mode allows you to highlight the areas of interest for potential followers. There are different tools that become available to you. And I think you have to be approved for creator mode. And I apologize, I'm not 100% sure on that. And then there are other resources. My point of this is go through it all, learn about LinkedIn, learn what's available for you to use so that you can make your profile and your activity on LinkedIn most impactful. The next thing is, and this is an area that as a job seeker, I think is very underutilized, it's the featured section. And here I actually have, these are 3 videos that I have here. This first one looks like I'm having some kind of GI distress here, but it's not, it's just me, whenever they freeze the picture, it always looks bad. Anyway, how I think a job seeker could benefit is by doing what you would call a video resume. And a video resume, it's not your entire resume on video. It's a 1 minute or less video that you could do using your camera that you're looking in right now. And you could give a very brief overview of yourself. It's your marketing campaign. It's your advertisement about who you are, what you have to offer, why people should want to talk to you to get your expertise or to talk to you about opportunities. And even if you're working, you could develop one about your expertise so that someone who might be looking for someone like you would want to talk to you. So this featured section, you could also put in here if you have a portfolio or you have, I don't know, other things that you could put in here that you want people to get more information, that to be able to see you in a little more depth than just what they see on the screen. So I really do think that as a job seeker, especially, consider doing a 1 minute or less video about yourself, about why people should want to talk to you about a potential opportunity or about what you have to offer or just to learn from you, so that, again, it increases your value to the viewer. The next area will show your activity, your most recent activity. It shows the number of followers I have, but also this was a post I posted the other day. But these are all, anytime you comment or post or repost, it'll show up here. I believe it's just 3 of them or so. Yep. And then if you want to see all your activity, obviously you could click down here. And this Career Coaches on Call, I'm going to put in a quick plug. Every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock on Clubhouse. Actually, Alan Kirshner is on with me as well, and we have 2 other career coaches and a mindset coach, and it's kind of like a podcast, but we take questions from the audience, anything job related, we are happy to help you with. So at 6 o'clock Tuesday nights on Clubhouse, which is an app you would download on your smartphone if you don't have it. Now, here's another really important section, the About section. This is your opportunity to market yourself, to really put the big sell on about why people should want to reach out to talk to you. And one thing I want you to notice is that only 4 lines show. So what your first goal in the About section should be is to write a really compelling, interesting opening that causes someone to say, I've got to hit this see more button. I need to read more about this person. Now, you'll also notice I wrote it in the first person. Now, you want to write it in that way because it helps you to connect with your reader a little bit better. And for me, the way I hope to suck people in to want to see more about me is I wrote that I lost my job at J&J after 25 years. I found 3 new jobs over the next 6 years, that I started my coaching practice, and now I help these kind of people. And I want people to say, what kind of people? Who does he help? How maybe am I one of those people that he can help? So I want to hit the see more button. And then you want to make it easy to read. And this is also a tip for your resume as well, to the question earlier. You want to have white space in there. Bullet points are great because they're easy for people to read. You want to get right to the point. You want to make it compelling and interesting. I tell a little bit story in here about what it was like to lose my job and how that experience has helped me to become a career coach and an executive coach. And so you want to use as much of this real estate as you can. And then you want to end it with a call to action. If you want to schedule a complimentary session with me, here's how you can do that. If you want to talk to me about how my project management experience can benefit you and your company, reach out to me at joe@gmail.com. Make it easy for people to know how to contact you. Now, if you're putting together an About section, what I typically would suggest to people is you start with something interesting and compelling, and you might not even use all 4 lines. Sometimes I might just have 2 or 3 lines there, but then I'll say, for example, ... And then if you want to see examples of the things I just said I've done or could do, you hit that see more button, and then I would suggest you'd have maybe 3 bullet points, similar to what I have here, about your best accomplishments that prove that you could do what you said in those opening 2 lines. So you have that opening, compelling up top that almost forces someone to hit the see more button. Then you have 3 bullet points to prove what you said up top. The next paragraph, you might write something about how you work, the type of work you are, what people say about you and who have worked with you, so that people get an idea of what it would be like to work with you. And then the 4th paragraph might be something a little more personal. It may be about what you do when you're not working, volunteer work you do, things you like to do with your family. You like hiking, you're a marathon runner, things that might enhance the value that someone might see in you. If I see someone's a marathon runner, I'm thinking to myself, boy, these people are dedicated, they're focused, they're driven. That sends a good message. If I see people volunteering, I'm thinking, wow, this is a good person who's willing to give their time and thinks outside of themselves. They're a giver. That's the kind of person I would want to work with. So that could be the fourth paragraph. And then the last one is, again, the call to action. So compelling opening, bullet point accomplishments. Third paragraph, how you work, what it's like to work with you, what people say about it working with you. Fourth paragraph could be a little more personal, and then a call to action on how people can reach out and get in touch with you. And that really, don't skimp on your about section. Take the time. Have keywords in there. Again, John mentioned earlier the keywords and being found through the applicant tracking systems. This is where those keywords will come in play. So you want to have them throughout. For your work experience, the simplest thing to do, and it is effective, is just copy and paste your work experience from your resume and put it in here. Too often I'll see people who will just have their job title in there and the years they were there without giving any more information. And you may say, well, that's in my resume. Why does it have to be here? Well, a lot of times people are going to find you through LinkedIn and they're not going to see your resume. So you don't want to save your great information for another time. You want to have enough information that's compelling, that causes someone to say, I'm going to keep reading, or I'm going to call that person because I want to talk to them about how they can help me. Now, if you also want to do something different here, you certainly can. I've seen some people where they write a little bit more prose, I would say, prose, about what they do. I mean, similar to, I guess, what I have here, but where you would just describe, maybe it's even describing a great accomplishment you had or something that really encompasses what you do, who you are, and what you have to offer. The only caveat there is it's got to be consistent with the information you have in your resume. You can't have different years that you work, different job titles, things like that. You might describe it differently here versus your resume, but it's all got to be the same general information, if that makes sense. And again, you could just copy and paste if you wanted to from your work experience. And you're going to have, now you can have on your resume, you're typically going to have 15 years, 3 jobs, more or less, on both of those things. Here, you could do the same thing, or you could have all your experiences. It doesn't matter, but you probably will have less information on the jobs you've had long ago versus your more current ones. You certainly will have your college, licenses and certifications. If you're out of work now, I think one way to enhance your value as a job candidate is to continually learn, show that you're up to speed, especially if you're mid to late career, because that's one of the things that's going to hold you back from getting a job. People thinking you're not up to date, you're not staying sharp, you're not open to change. But if you're showing that you're continuously learning, you've got certificates to prove it, that's something that'll add value to you. Volunteering, make sure if you have volunteer work you do, that you have that down here as well.
Can you just scroll back up to the certificates? We have a question.
Okay.
So it's a section called licenses and certifications. Excuse me. So the question was, where do you put that experience?
Yep. And if you go, here's where you're going to start everything. Add profile section. Go to your add profile section and fill out as much information as you can. Here's where under recommended, that's where you'll find licenses and certification. There's additional information. As much, you probably won't be able to fill in every one of these sections. The more you fill in, the higher you will rise in the LinkedIn search algorithm. So add profile section is really where you want to start. We're getting down to the end of it, and then I'm going to show you one bonus search, and then I'll stick around for any additional questions we have. I mentioned to you earlier skills. You want to put in all 50 skills. It's a valued section for recruiters and in LinkedIn. And then within your skills, it only shows your top 3. So I could see all 50 skills here, but it's only going to show the top 3. and how many endorsed and such. Now you can switch it around. Here's a drop down. You could reorder if you don't have the top 3 that you want in there that are telling your story, reorder them, okay? But you do want to make sure that you do have 50 in there if you can, and then your top 3 here. There's nothing wrong, by the way, with asking people to endorse you, because I'm not a huge fan of this section, to be honest with you, because I could ask you to endorse me, and I'm happy if you do, but you might not have experienced my coaching or my ability to motivate a team or my leadership development, but you could still endorse me for it. So that's why I'm not a big fan of it, but it is a valuable area. So I suggest you do it. You could ask friends and colleagues to endorse you. You could endorse them and get as many as you can. Once you get to 99, like down here, I'm close up here, then you can't get any more than that. You might consider switching your top 3 skills, but think about what's the story I want to tell, and are these the 3 skills that are going to help me tell that story? So you want to make sure you choose your skills carefully. The other area that I think is overlooked and really important is recommendations. Recommendations are a way for you to get other people to tell your story. So, throughout interviewing and resume and LinkedIn, that's all you telling the story. Well, here's what other people are saying about me as well. Now, there are 3 ways you can get recommendations. First way is just to ask somebody, hey, would you mind writing a recommendation for me? Yeah, sure, I'll write a recommendation for you. And then you can hope that they actually write it and hope that they write what you want them to write. Most people have really good intentions. I'd love to write your recommendation. And then conversation's over, and then I've got 100 emails to deal with. I've got projects due. I've got family things I got to take care of. That recommendation is way down on the list. The next way you can ask someone for a recommendation, say, would you write me a recommendation? And assuming you do, would you mind writing about my leadership ability, my problem solving ability, whatever part of your brand is, whatever part of your story is. So that way, when they write something, it is specific, it is helping you in the way you want to be helped. But again, you're hoping that they have the time to write it. The third and best and hardest way to ask for a recommendation is by saying something like in an email, and again, you're probably going to reach out to someone who you're pretty sure is going to write your recommendation. You'd write, dear so-and-so, I really would appreciate it if you wrote me a LinkedIn recommendation. I understand how busy you are, though, so I took the time and I wrote a couple of lines below to help you. Feel free to edit it and put it in your own voice. And when it's done, and when it's final, I will send you an official LinkedIn request through LinkedIn, and all you have to do is copy and paste it in. Now, the benefit of that is that you'll get exactly what you want written. So you could go to someone and write about your great leadership skills, your great problem-solving skills, your great ability to manage performance, whatever it might be. You're telling your story through other people. Now, people appreciate that because we're all busy, but we do want to help, but we don't always have the time, or we don't even know how sometimes. So you really are doing them a favor. Honestly, I appreciate it when people ask me that way, and I think other people have as well when I've asked them that way. The hard part is that you're writing about how great you are, and that's for a lot of us who have humility, find it hard to brag on ourselves or write about how good we are. You got to get over that, though, and believe me, it really makes a difference. My last word on recommendations is you do want to give. It's great to receive them, but you also want to make sure you're giving them. I had one client who had received 10 and he had not given any. And that sends a really bad message. That sends a me message. It sends I'm not a team player. It says that I'm not a giver. I personally would not really want to hire someone like that. So not only is it good to receive, it's even better to give. Okay? And then additional information. Here are groups or organizations that you might be associated with. And then the last part here is groups. And I think groups are really important. I think you could be in actually 100 groups or so. And I recommend that you get into as many as you can because that gives you access to people outside your network that you would not have access to before. The other thing I recommend to people is to identify 1 to 3 groups that are really that you think are the best groups in your area of interest. So if you're again, I'm using project management as an example. Find the best project manager group in here. And the way you could do that, again, you just come up to the search bar, you do project manager, you hit search, and then you're going to get some filters here. I would, you drop down menu. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to drop down. I come to groups, and now I'll see there are 2,200 groups. I'm going to look for maybe it could be a local one. It could be one that has a lot of people in it. Here's 532,000. I'm going to join that group. And when I mentioned to you earlier, start off in a way that works for you. If it's 3 days a week, 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn, get into this group, comment, post, repost, get your name out there because there are recruiters in those groups. If I'm a recruiter looking for a project manager, I'm probably going to that project manager community to see who comes out, who pops out to me. And if I keep seeing your name there over and over again, and I'm a recruiter, I'm going to look at you. I'm going to go to your profile. I'm going to see what you're all about. And I may actually call you up to talk to you a little bit more about an opportunity. So identify groups. If you're spending concerted effort in LinkedIn 3 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever is working for you, look to get active in groups because that will also enhance your visibility. So I am going to
we do have some questions.
Yes, please.
Getting back to recommendations, you suggest the fourth way, you suggested 3 ways, and you suggest the fourth way, and actually worked for Dave. And that is what I've done, is I've actually given a recommendation to someone. How many owners?
Did you hear that?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know why. Maybe that microphone's battery's dead. So, David. So, everyone in the room here is named David, by the way. David suggested that if you want a recommendation, you first give a recommendation, and now they may feel a little bit obligated to reciprocate.
Mm-hmm.
David
Nothing
feels
wrong with
a lot
that.
more. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
David, the extortionist, believes that. No, he's a good guy. But you know,
I think that's a great idea.
Can,
That's a great place to start. Go to your closest colleagues, maybe even friends who are working elsewhere. It doesn't matter, and write it in a way that helps you out. And I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. It's perfectly legitimate.
And there's also a question online from Sharon. If you are not working, do you put a current position? I was told once to add what you could do with your skills. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you have to be honest. You certainly can't make something up. I think first of all, that's a big reason why if you can do volunteer work, that's one reason why. So you can put that down as your current job. But also volunteer work can help enhance your ability in a particular area. If you're a finance person and you're doing the books for a nonprofit, that's very valuable experience that keeps your head in the game. And there are a number of other reasons, and also when you're volunteering, you're meeting people, right? You're networking, you're building your network. But I would say it's got to be legitimate what you're doing if you're putting it down as current work experience. And I think, although it's maybe not as big a deal as it used to be, I do think employed people probably do have a little bit of an edge over unemployed people. So if you have a work experience that you could put in there, I do think that would be helpful.
There's also a concept in LinkedIn what's called a 100% complete profile. And so if you have a 100% complete profile, you come up higher than those who don't have a 100% complete profile. LinkedIn has a search like Google has a search. And one of the requirements to have a 100% complete profile is to have a current position. And so if you can, like Ken said, if you're volunteering a significant amount of time, put it in work experience, at least for now, because you are doing work. Your salary is none, that's irrelevant. Or the other is call yourself a consultant. And then, so that question was from Sharon. Say Sharon the consultant, that's your position or whatever you want to call yourself. and instead of your completions, your work requests that you've completed, the skills that you offer, those will be your bullet points.
Mhm. Yep.
Any other questions, folks?
Yeah, there's another one in the chat. Chris is asking, how do you view how the public sees you without the little editing pencils?
I guess you might want to look at somebody else's computer to do that. I don't know if there's a way to do that. Why would I'm not sure what the difference would be. Do you
Chris,
feel
if
like the
you,
pencil takes away from the view?
unless he's getting at, does the public see your profile different than
Yeah, no, and
than
they
what
would
you see?
not. No, so here's David's awesome profile. See, you don't see any pencils. So that's why I say if you went to somebody else's computer, you could see how you look. Now, I would like to show one awesome search, but any other questions before I do that? And then I got 1 or 2 slides and we'll close it out.
Yeah, there's another online. How recent should the recommendations be in order to be effective with potential clients or recruiters?
Great question, because I think what happens a lot of times is, you'll see recommendation from 2005, and then all of a sudden somebody's out of work, and you'll get like 5 from 2022. So I think you want to keep them current. If you can, keep them coming throughout the year, I think that's always best. The other thing is too, you might have done something great 10 years ago that somebody wrote about. As a reader, I want to also know, are you still doing those kind of things? So if you can keep them as current as you can, keep getting and giving them. I'm sure there are plenty of people that will in your network that will help you with that.
We do have one in, yep. Yeah, go over there. Go right up to it, like a rock star. Yeah, hold it up.
Is it good now?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, okay. I have one question regarding the algorithm.
With the algorithm.
Do you have an idea, Ken, how works the algorithm that you fulfill that you receive on the internet, how you can better control it, choose, select that you receive in this flow of information?
Did you hear that, Ken?
No, it did not.
Okay, so Eric asked, how can you control what you see in your search results when in the algorithm?
So if I were to do a search, so if Eric was going to do a search, how could he control what he sees?
What you see, Eric, or what they see about you?
So in the feature you search, but as well as the flow, and you have the flow of information you receive.
So I understand part of it. So how do you control what you see? But the other, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by how do you control the flow? You mean how many show up? I'm not sure what the flow means.
When I say the flow, I mean,
I think he's talking about the activity feed. Like, how do you control what activity you get that LinkedIn sends to you?
Oh, I see. Good. Thanks, other David Shepard.
I think I'm not sure how much control you have out of it. Certainly, who you follow will impact what comes through your feed. So companies you follow, people you follow, that will impact what comes through your feed. And then, if you're doing searches, it's just like with Google, you would have to refine your search to get the results and the information you're looking for. Not sure if that's answering the question. Alan or David, do you have any additional information, or anybody additional information on that?
Yeah, I would agree with what you said, Ken. I think part of it is who you follow, companies or people, and who your connections are as well, too. So I think those are big things that play into it.
Yeah. Yep. The following being the key, I think, for the most part.
And I made a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I made a comment. One of the things that I routinely do when I check a person out on LinkedIn, I almost automatically go to the recommendations. I want to see how many people recommended that person, but more importantly, I want to see how many recommendations that person made. And as I said, that speaks volumes.
Hmm.
Many
Yeah.
people receive tons of recommendation. Why? Because they're very popular. Well, that's wonderful. However, I want to see that person. Is he or she sitting down and writing someone else a recommendation?
Hmm.
It
I'm with
became
you,
also
Alex.
like a hobby of mine. I always check both.
Hmm. And I think you're right, Alex. And I think also that's a reflection of you and your nature because you're a giver and you like to help people and you do that for others. And I think it's an important trait as well.
Can being a giver, it's not something you learn in college. You're born like that.
Mm, yeah. Uh, it's important, though, I think, too. I agree with you.
Cannot change that.
Okay.
So, folks, any other questions in the room? Yep. So Mark has one. And well, our in-house mic here is not working well. So just, tell you what, why don't you come up here? You don't mind. Because you will be talking into the computer's mic and we'll hear you.
Thank you. I actually have two questions. One is profile views. How far does that go back? Is that like a month, a year since you started?
I no, that's a very good question. I'm not 100% sure of that. I think it's a monthly average, is what it is. Is what I think. Does anybody know any better than that?
I think it's 90 days.
90 days? Okay.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. And again, it's an
You're wondering, so you can see who's looking at you specifically, or just your statistics?
The analytics, the statistics, yeah.
mhm.
That number in
Yeah,
there.
down here.
And
Oh,
then
let's
the
see. I
second
think it
question
tells you.
is,
Mhm.
the second
Yeah,
question is,
past
and I don't know
90
if
days right here.
the second question I have is, I don't know if I found this out by accident, but I don't know how this factors into completed profile. But if you're not working, there's the option to choose career break. So if you choose career break, then there's a drop down with more detail, like, okay, what kind of job, what kind of career break? So I don't know if that factors into the whole completed profile thing, but
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not aware.
yeah,
have to look into it.
okay, that's all I have.
Man, that's a good thought. And I think if you put in there that you're doing something, maybe you can make it even more active than that, career break, but you're doing volunteer work or you're taking care of family members or whatever it might be. Uh, I think that could be helpful. Okay, so I want to show you guys this great search, which I think a lot of people are not aware of. So if you click on your college, it'll bring you back down to your college, your education here. And if you click on it, it'll bring you to your college's LinkedIn page. And then you want to click on alumni right here, alumni. When you click on alumni, in this case, you'll see there are almost 40,000 alumni on LinkedIn. I'm going to expand this to show more. And what I love about this is, first of all, it shows where they work. So if there's a company here that I'm interested in, I can click on that as one of the filters. I'm not going to do that just yet. But let's say I want to look at a particular area. Let's say I'm interested in New York City, and I click on New York City as a filter. And now I have 17,840 alumni from Oneonta who live in New York City. But here's where the value comes in. See this next button here. If I click next, it shows me what they do. So let's say I'm interested in operations. I'm going to click on operations. And now I've filtered down to 1,915 Oneonta graduates living in New York City, working in operations. And when I scroll down, here they all are. Every one of them, 1,900 of them. So when I mentioned to you, you want to have at least 500 connections earlier, this is a great place to find them because most people are going to accept an invitation from a college alumni. And what I would suggest is you always want to personalize your invitation. You might write, Dear Melissa, came across your profile on LinkedIn. I see we're both Oneonta grads living in New York City, working in operations. I'd love to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. That's it. And then you connect and you'll have, again, you'll increase the number of connections. Then you want to try to build a relationship with them. Maybe you follow Melissa, and if she's posting things, you're commenting and engaging with her through LinkedIn, to the point where then you could say, hey, Melissa, love to talk to you and learn more about you and your background. And then you're really building your network and you're building connections that could potentially lead you to where you want to be in your career. So this search among your college alumni, just again quickly, click on your college, get to your college LinkedIn page, click on alumni, and then use those different filters to get to where you want to get to. Then connect with people with a personal note, and then see how you can build a relationship with them online that will ultimately lead you to having a conversation with them that will ultimately, hopefully, lead you to the next step in your career journey. Any questions about that? I don't know if anybody's been using that, and if not, I highly recommend it.
There is one question online from Chris. How do you change the default email address? And I'm assuming, Chris, maybe you need to unmute. What do you mean by default? Your own email address? Yeah, I mean, that's in your profile, certainly.
Yeah. I'm sorry, David, is he talking now or?
No, we're just mumbling among ourselves.
Okay. So I'd
so
say
I guess
I'm with you, David. I'm not sure the answer, but of the question, but one place could be here. You just edit from using the pencil here. Another thing, if it's something else you're talking about, oops, that's not what I meant to do. I apologize. If you go to that drop-down menu I told you before about settings and profiles by your thumbnail picture in the top right, and go to settings and privacy, and then you could search through here, profile information, personal demographics, things like that. You can possibly, this is where what you're talking about. So I hope that helps.
Did it say default email? I didn't. I'm not sure what you mean. So I guess, Ken, if you can quickly go to your profile where you had your contact information, when the pencil pops up, click the pencil. We just want to see what we can edit. Can we change the email address? Scroll down. Other services. No, I know. I saw it on top.
Well, here's my email. I could certainly send this.
So he wants to know, can you change that email address?
And here,
we can add a secondary, or you can make one primary. So,
or you could remove and add one, right? You could remove and add. So yes, you can.
So when you saw the email address that you couldn't edit, if you go back, Ken, please, and go to
let me do it. Let me try it this way, David. There we go. This one, you mean?
Right. Click on that little box with the arrow or whatever, and then that takes you to the screen where you can change your email address.
Yep. So you could remove, you could make primary, you could add. It's in there. Okay. All right. So let me just put an official wrap on my presentation, but I'll stick around for a bit if there are more questions. So you need to have a strong profile. As David mentioned, the fuller your profile, the higher up in the LinkedIn search algorithm you'll be. Your about section is key because that's where you're marketing and selling yourself. Get those endorsements, get those recommendations. As Alex mentioned that those recommendations do mean a lot, not only getting them, but giving them. And be active. LinkedIn is not a spectator sport. You've got to be engaged in order to increase the opportunities that come your way. So I mentioned that you could test yourself. So here's how you have to do it. It's a little bit convoluted, but it's doable. Find somebody that you are a first connection with. Get together with them and disconnect. End that connection. Then have them do a search on you. Have them do a search on what you do, project management. Have them do a search on different keywords that you think are important in your profile and see what page do you show up on. Because now that you're not connected, it's kind of a clean search. And if you're not on that first page, look at what people are doing on that first page and see what you need to tweak and adjust in your profile. Then do the search, have your friend do the search again and keep doing it. And I promise you, you can and will move up on those pages. I did this once, and I admit I should do it more often. But I went from the 12th page to number 3 on the first page. So you can do it. Just make sure when you're done, you reconnect with that person because clearly they're important to you. So you can test yourself to see where do you end up in the search algorithm, and that can help with direction on how you need to adjust your profile. I started off talking about my trust success model. I do believe that each aspect of this can help you with your job search. I'm going to share these slides with David, who's going to share them with you. I'm happy to talk to anybody. I'd be glad to do a 30-minute complimentary call with you. I'm not a big pusher or seller, but I promise you I will help you. And at the end of that call, I know you will have 1 or 2 things that'll make your job search more impactful, more effective. I have a free guide, the sure way to your next job. I'd be happy to share with you. If you send me an email on that, I'd get it right out to you. And if you just want to chat, whatever, you could call or email. I'd love to hear from you. But I do appreciate your engagement today. Thanks for the questions and comments. And like I said, I'll stick around if there are any additional questions or you want to talk.
Yeah, there's
Thank you,
one more in
David.
the room here from Dorian, so just shout it out.
When you are searching for yourself, are you trying to figure
I know.
are you on the first page of career places, or are you on the first page of people named there?
So when you search for yourself or have your friends search for yourself, whose first page do you show up on? Is it only career coaches? Is it only people you connected to?
No, so if it were me, right, and I had, and Dave, let's say David and I did it, and I said, David, can you put in career coach in the search bar? I would want me to show up on the first page of David's search, because if he's looking for a career coach, I want him to see me in the top and say, okay, that's where I'll start looking. That's who I'll reach out to first. Does that
Okay.
answer it?
Well, it's specific to the search terms. Also, be aware when you make it to the first page, like Ken said, this is not a spectator sport. Other people are making changes to their profile. So if you get to the first page and you say, I'm done, other people may surpass you. So you do have to stay active to keep the spot that you earned. And then the other unfair thing, and I know from talking with Alex Freund, he's experienced this, LinkedIn will occasionally change their algorithm, and you can either move up or move down because of changes they've made, and they don't publish their changes.
Mm-hmm.
So keep active on LinkedIn in lots of different ways to help maintain your ability to stay as close to the top as possible.
Yeah. And that includes tweaking your profile every now and then, changing a few words here and there, kind of refreshes it and might bring you up as well.
Anything else, folks, either online or here before we officially wrap up the meeting? And once we do wrap up, those of us here in Princeton, we're going to hang around a little bit among ourselves. And those of you who are still online, got a good group, you can chit-chat among yourselves. We will keep the session open for you as well. Going once, going twice. Oh, there I am. Now I see my active camera. All right, so let us wrap up officially. I just love this presentation. I appreciate certainly, and I hope you do as well, considering when I was job hunting, having the perspective of using LinkedIn from a coach's perspective, someone who, demonstrates this to clients, who uses it for himself. So I hope that you got a lot out of that the way I did. What I learned that I didn't realize about on the About section, how you can better utilize those first 4 lines, put that sales pitch up there or that thing you want to be noted for, instead of using it, the about section, more as a traditional essay section. You may put the bit of an announcement or something to grab their attention. So that was really powerful. And I'm going to look to change mine, even though I'm not a job hunter. I do provide service to business, and I want to make sure I'm as interesting to my prospective clients. And I also like, I'm sorry?
No, David, I'm sorry. I was just going to say one of my favorite expressions when I'm coaching folks is it's a journalistic term that says, don't bury the lead. So in other words, if you save your good stuff for after those first 4 lines, I may never get to it. So
Right.
hit me hard up front, get my attention fast.
Yeah, and a lot of hiring managers, and I could think of when I was hiring, we didn't have a good attention span for this kind of stuff. If you didn't grab us early, we might have missed you. The other thing was you highlighted the use of certifications, and I think that becomes very valuable, and for some people maybe even underutilized, because I know people have asked me over the years, should I go back to school? And my thought is no. When you're this late in your career, unless you're drastically changing your career, get a certification. You go back to school, you're talking a minimum 4 years. The certification you probably complete in a few weeks to a few months. And in 4 years, the thing you just learned might soon become outdated, but the certification is more current. A lot of companies see the value in certifications for learning rather than going back to school later in life. Now, on the other hand, if you're going to switch from accountant to brain surgeon, please go back to school. But other than that example, there are probably very few where it's that relevant. Nothing personal, but if Ken gets a brain surgeon certification, I'm not going to go see him for that or anybody else. I want you to have lots of brain surgery experience. Hopefully none of us need that. But Ken, thank you so much for being such a wonderful supporter, of course, the job seekers, and to us also here at PSG of Mercer County. Thank you so much for joining us today and presenting. I want to let you know what's coming up here for the next 2 weeks. Nothing. Well, the library will be here, but PSG of Mercer County on the 23rd, next Friday, and 30th, the following Friday, will not be meeting. We will not be meeting either live or virtual. We do have over 120 recorded sessions on our YouTube channel. So if you do want to see a topic of importance or one that you haven't seen in a while, you can go to our YouTube channel. It's accessible either directly from YouTube, PSG of Mercer County, or if you go to our website, psgofmercercounty.org, on the right side is the YouTube icon and link. So just click on that. You'll go to our YouTube channel. So you can get your information from there. But we're taking off during the holiday weeks. We will be back here on January 6th and talking about getting unstuck, uncover the hidden job market. So if you are only searching online and not seeing 70% or so of the jobs that are hidden, you may want to see that presentation on January 6th. So this is our last presentation, live presentation this year, and that will be our first presentation for next year. And of course, other groups to visit. PSG of Central New Jersey meets on Mondays, psgcnj.biz, and PSG of Morris County meets on Wednesdays, psgmc.org. And if you want to know which weeks, if any, they may be taking off, you'll have to check with them on their website as well.
David, I'm here. PSG-CNJ will be shut down until January 9th. We're having an invitation-only meeting this Monday night for, you might say, insiders, a very large crowd of them. And we'll be seeing you. And remember, folks, this is an excellent time to repair your network. You know, the person who you haven't spoken to in quite a number of years, you just say, yeah, we sit around and say, yeah, we're sitting around and your name came up the other day and I decided to call you today. And it's flattering to be remembered after 9 years of not being remembered, you know, unless it's your, you know.
Well, we did see a comment from Phil a few minutes ago that each year he sends a holiday greeting through LinkedIn to keep himself in the back of other people's minds and a reminder. So it goes right in line with Charlie was just saying.
You know, you can do that. And the other thing you can do if you're tracking like their birthdays and you want to send something when everybody else is not sending you something, send them an unbirthday greeting 6 months out of phase. You know, So they get a half-year birthday card from you, which will kind of like maybe surprise the heck out of a few people. It's like, wow.
Yeah, Charlie, I
Okay,
love that
very good.
idea.
Well, folks, yep.
No,
Get out
another
of the
idea, real quick.
box, man.
Send a pre-interview note. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow to discussing this great opportunity. Something, 2 sentences. That'll help you
Yeah.
stand out from the crowd too.
Do you send that note even if you don't have an interview scheduled?
That'll get
Show up?
everything, won't it?
No, we're not recommending that at all. All right, folks, in
No,
just a moment.
security will meet you at the door.
Hold on, folks. Let's officially wrap up the meeting, then
Oh,
we can continue with our networking. But thank you very much, everybody. Do have a happy holiday season, a happy new year. We look forward to seeing you bright and successful early next year. But until then, we'll simply say bye, everybody.